Ha-Yun was running towards the central building, running back to where E was. As she was running through the city, word seemed to race ahead of her about the monsters breaching the defenses. People around her were scrambling over one another, looking to escape from being eaten. In the middle of the street, there was a little girl that was crying all alone. The girl was holding onto a stuffed animal, screaming for her mother. Seeing this image, Ha-Yun was transported to when she was laying against the prince. Her hair was sweaty from the savage sex that the prince enjoyed. She could feel the blood dribbling down her back from when he carved another lunar glyph into her skin. On her back was a very intricate design to celebrate the moon, while also marking her as his. The prince would strap her to the bed and ride her like an animal. As he thrust into her, he would meticulously carve a new symbol into her skin. In the beginning, she'd cry and beg him to stop, but now she felt a perverse pleasure in feeling the knife cut into her flesh. She knew that no one wanted her, and he was the only one that would keep someone as disgusting as herself near them. This night, the prince was in a cheerful mood, which would always make her feel apprehensive. "Did you see those soldiers look surprised when my men and I suddenly appeared? They were like, 'How did he know that we would be here?'" He laughed uproariously, reimagining the faces of the soldiers he butchered. When his laughter died down, he asked, "Do you know how we knew where those sheep were?" Ha-Yun felt herself flinch from his sudden question. "No, master. I would not dare to think myself more knowledgeable than you," she whimpered, hoping that he would be happy with her response. "Of course a whore like you would not know." He grabbed her hair and yanked it back, causing her to yelp in pain. "My father told me that those cultists had members hidden high up within the enemy's command. These forces are different from those poor saps that are somehow mind-controlled into following the orders of the cult of the gods. I was told that this was how that stupid city was overrun by those monsters. One of their own betrayed the city and sabotaged the defenses." He seemed to admire the image and changed to another thought. "I wish I knew how they did that. Maybe I would make it so that you thought of yourself as an animal. Then you would match what you are on the inside with the outside. You were just some scum we picked off the street, crying on the ground, holding that ridiculous stuffed animal." He let go of her head and rested his hand on her shoulder. Not wanting to offend him again, she quickly embraced him and started to kiss his chest, hoping to improve his mood. The memory of that night faded away, and she realized what she had forgotten. Idrenus rushed towards the priestess, connecting what she had heard about and what likely happened that caused the monsters to overrun the city guard's defenses. "Priestess, we need to leave here immediately," Idrenus whispered into the priestess's ear. "What do you mean?" She looked confused by what Idrenus was telling her. "Your life is in danger. I think we have been betrayed." Idrenus quickly glanced at the other advisors and council leaders. "Idrenus, what is the matter?" Sarah walked up to Idrenus, looking concerned about Idrenus' erratic behavior. "I think that one of the advisors or council leaders have betrayed us to the gods." Idrenus tried to keep her voice down, preventing the others from being alerted. Sarah raised both of her hands in shock, alarmed by this development. "How can you know that? Our priestess would have detected anyone with the influence of the gods." Idrenus shook her head. "I do not know how we were infiltrated, but there is no other explanation for what has happened. The monsters have broken through our defenses. Those defenses were still holding strong, and the only thing that would have caused them to fail is related to the mana stones. Those stones would have passed through one of their hands." Idrenus glared at those she suspected. "What? The defenses have fallen and the monsters are in the city?" Sarah yelled out, distressed by the news. The others heard Sarah's shout and turned towards the three of them. "Did you say that the defenses have collapsed? That is impossible. We are good for at least a week," the advisor shouted in terror at this horrific news. "That is ridiculous," another advisor stated. One of the members of the council heard this, and his face paled in fright. He shouted, "We need to get out of here, immediately!" and ran towards a secret exit out of the city. "Wait a minute," Idrenus yelled after the man, suspicious about the reaction. Everyone else just stared at the man's quick response and began shoving each other out of the way. As everyone was running, the doors crashed open, and one of the people that were with E came barging in a while holding a small girl. Two beast people closely followed her along with several of the students in tow. "E, I know why the defenses were overwhelmed," she shouted out at him. "Someone has sabotaged the city, and that is why the city is being overrun." As Idrenus stared at the woman and wondering how she knew that there was a traitor, she felt a sharp pain penetrate her back. Turning around, she saw Sarah holding a bloody dagger in her hand. Sarah smiled at her and said, "Looks like the cat is out of the bag." Seeing how Idrenus was reacting from the news, she answered, "I'm not one of those useless people we use, so your precious priestess cannot detect me. I know, there are not many of us, so why would we bother? Your little priestess has really ruined a lot of plans we had, so I was placed to stay close by. No one would expect a medical expert to be the traitor, right?" Turning her back to Idrenus, she quickly looked back and said, "Do not worry. You have been paralyzed with a powerful poison that will melt your insides. You can still watch as I kill your precious priestess." Idrenus watched as Sarah walked towards Relissa. She tried to make her body move, but it didn't respond to her wish. "Run, Relissa!" she coughed out with all of her strength. Relissa was sitting on the seat with a brave face, not wanting Sarah to have the satisfaction of seeing her act like a coward. Idrenus tried to scream out again, but her voice was barely louder than a whisper. She begged Relissa to run away, but it was futile. "Damn you, Sarah! How could you do this?" Idrenus cursed her, but knew that Sarah was too far to hear. "Aw, you look so brave, priestess," Sarah mocked her, laughing. "Too bad that we do not have more time, or I would have had some fun with you. Unfortunately, I need to run towards the exit before the monsters arrive." Idrenus watched as a dagger in Sarah's hand lifted up high. In an instant, E appeared behind Sarah and grabbed her throat. "Just because I do not intend to interfere in this event does not mean that I plan on just letting you scum do what you want. You sound like one of those stereotypical villains," E muttered, before breaking her neck with his hand. Letting go, Sarah's body flopped to the ground. "It seems like our time in this fine city is coming to an end. Though I do not want to show too many of my cards, it looks like I will need to in order for us to leave this situation," E said, talking to himself. "Relissa, I will give you a choice as to whether you would like to leave this hellhole," E offered, extending his hand. Seeing how Relissa was hesitating, Idrenus saw him look back at her. "Yes, I figured you are the reason she is having difficulty choosing." Han pulled back his hand and then headed towards Idrenus. He squatted in front of Idrenus and said, "Normally, I do not like to meddle in someone else's death. I feel like I am overextending my authority, and death seems like a better choice compared to living in this pointless world that has no meaning." He fell silent for a moment before starting again. "But, luckily for you, you are not dead, so this soft rule of mine does not apply." Jerking his head back to indicate Relissa behind him, E said, "I also think that this girl would miss you if you died. And considering you became like this trying to save her, I will help you out." E reached out his hand, and Idrenus was suddenly overcome with a feeling of peace and happiness. It felt like everything which was beautiful in this world was flowing into her body. When E let his hand drop to his side, her body felt like it was stronger than it was before. Standing up, Idrenus held her hands in front of her and stared at them. There was a strength that she did not feel before, which seemed to flow throughout her body. Looking up at E, she began to ask, but was halted by his index finger on her lips. Sometimes it is better not to ask. He turned around and once again offered his hand to Relissa. This time, Relissa grabbed his hand. Good. Now, how about you see your friend? I feel like she is feeling confused by her changes. E led Relissa towards Idrenus. Relissa let go of E's hand and rushed to give Idrenus a hand. The two of them held one another, sobbing in happiness that the both of them were safe. Seeing the two girls looking happy, Han turned towards the others. He was surprised that Ha-Yun was carrying a young girl. When he gave her a questioning look, she said, I saw this girl in the middle of the street alone. I could not just leave her there. Well, I guess there is no harm in adding another passenger. He sighed in resignation. Han noticed that the number of students was lower than the number that arrived in the city. There were also no adventurers in the group. Master, it appears the others have the illusion that they will be able to survive without Master's assistance, Annaculus stated. Hearing this, Han just shrugged his shoulder and said, Considering our presence is no longer required here or welcomed, why not change to a more inviting location? Considering this was his first time traveling, he brought up the system menu. Han noticed the new option, Save Locations, and pressed it. A list appeared, and looking down the list, he found what he was looking for. Seeing that he needed to input a date, he realized he didn't remember what the date was when they went missing. Bringing up the Save Locations list, he noticed that there were some timestamps since the last time he was there. The last place he was at was labeled Dungeon, with a date stamp next to it. After inputting what he needed into the system menu, he pictured everyone around him tagging along to the front of Felicitas. The world seemed to twist and disappear.